F1 royalty in the house.
The atmosphere here has been really, really cool this weekend, so it's been nice to be a part of.
I'd have come years ago.
That F40 is so iconic, isn't it?
We're here at the Victoria Park Circuit, a stone's throw away from the CBD of Adelaide for the 2025 Repco Adelaide Motorsport Festival. G'day everybody, my name's James Baldwin. It is a pleasure to have your company as we have a look at all of the sights, sounds and smells at this year's Adelaide Motorsport Festival. There have been a fantastic number of cars and people around, personality-wise, like of course, Damon Hill. We'll have Valtteri Bottas tomorrow, many other F1 names, but also some really cool cars like behind me with some really cool Ferraris, hypercars, supercars, and the like. The good news is I've already had a chance this morning to check out some of this. And I'll tell you what, it was hard to know where to look because here at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival, it is action, jam-packed wherever you look. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a walk around here for the live stream of the Repco Adelaide Motorsport Festival. Behind me, we've got some drift cars, which are pretty cool, heavily stanced, super powerful, obviously different steering racks in these kinds of cars than we'll see a little bit later on. And they're going to come past me here down to the hairpin and join this track here at the Victoria Park Circuit. We know that we absolutely love it here. I can spy some Commodores, there's a 350Z, there's an S15 Silvia right out the front. We've got old school, we've got new school, all the way back down. I could see a Mustang. This is going to be pretty epic. And we love that here at Motorsport Festival, especially with the variety of cars, the diversity of cars, which is what Tim Possingham said just earlier. He is the creator of this event, an absolute petrol head and a brilliant person to put it all together. And I tell you what, I just want to point out these officials too, these marshals who are all volunteers here this weekend. It would not be possible at all without these guys. Here we go. We've got some really cool action here. Yes, it's a bit of revs. Toyota 86, we've got a 200SX, an old school Commodore. There's a Lamborghini here, that's ridiculous, an R35 GTR. We've got another old Silvia, a 200SX. There's a Toyota Crown here, or Cressida, depending on your capital city of choice. Another 86, an AE86. My goodness me, drift cars. I tell you what, if this isn't the coolest thing you'll see in a long time, I don't know what else you want from Motorsport Festival. We've obviously got Formula One cars, we've got supercars, we've got drift cars. They're going to create a lot of smoke. In fact, I can already see some smoke going on, some sideways action. And here comes a Mustang. All right, we're down in one of the brilliant paddock areas of Motorsport Festival. And in fact, I can actually see one of the drivers. He's going to be driving one of the Rhodens. I'm going to interrupt him as he talks. Josh Buchan, hello, mate.
Hey, mate.
Nice to see you. Good, thank you. You're going to be in one of these cool Rhodens today. Josh Buchan, by the way, two-time TCR champion. He won it last year at Bathurst, which was really cool. But this is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, mate, it's amazing. This is as close to a Formula One car as you can accessibly buy. It's obviously run by Zagami Autosport, who I run with in Australian GT, and supported by Rhoden, obviously, in New Zealand. So we have two cars here this weekend with Rhoden. This is the Zagami outfit that are looking after this. So, yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Mate, this is a little bit different for you compared to a Hyundai TCR car, but you did time attack last year as well with Rhoden in a car that was incredibly quick. How does this compare to those experiences from last year?
Oh, to be honest, there's really nothing you can do to prepare yourself for something like this. I was only saying to the guys yesterday, this is, imagine 2010 Formula One just dialed down maybe 10 or 15%. there really is nothing that can prepare you for that. You know, I'm pretty good in touring cars and GT cars, but yeah, these things, they make everyone nervous. So yeah, it's a privilege to drive.
Can you talk us through a little bit about what we can see here? Because it does look like a Formula One car. It almost looks like Danny Rick's 2014 Red Bull Challenger. You know, you've got the smaller wing, you've got really cool aero. But from your point of view, what works? What is really interesting about this car?
Well, I guess the thing with this car is that it's designed for customers. So for, you know, owners to buy and run at track days, it's a track car. It's actually quite usable, so don't let the nearly 700 horsepower get in the way of, you know, actually being able to drive the thing and enjoy it. You can drive it as quick as you can, and it's got more. So whether you're cruising around at half pace or you're actually trying to have a bit of a go, this will cater for you. So it's actually a rather usable car.
Just looking up and down the paddock area here as well, the car next to it has a very familiar name on the side in Will Power. You're obviously in very good company here in terms of the machinery that's on display at Adelaide Motorsport Festival. We just spoke about this car that's being run by Zagami, but is there anything else that you're excited to see this weekend?
Oh, mate, I can't believe the array of cars we have here, just sitting in garages like this for all of us to go and have a look by. I mean, I'm lucky I get to drive a few of them, but I'm just a punter off the street as far as I'm concerned. When I walk up and down, it's amazing what cars we have here. You've got the Group A GTRs, you've got Group C cars, you've got, you know, Murph's supercar over there. I was only chatting to him yesterday. That's pretty trippy for me. So there's nothing here that isn't cool.
Mate, thank you very much. We'll let you get back to it. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We might catch up with you tomorrow. All right, let's go a little bit further along, shall we, in this pit walk. Josh Buchan is a really, really, really brilliant guy, by the way, and you can tell he has an absolute massive love for motorsport. In terms of other cars that we've got around the place, here's a man that we can look at. This Steve Richards is here, who's pointing into some... Can I just sneak in very quickly? G'day, Steve. How you doing? Yeah, nice to see you. We're going to chat a little bit later on as well, but I thought we'd pick up here in terms of what is going on. This is a very cool-looking car, isn't it?
Yes, and like all of the cars here this weekend, it's got quite a unique history. So it actually was brought into the country by Alan Hamilton, who recently passed away, and it was to be used for Alfredo Costanzo's Formula 2 campaign in about 1982. But the chassis wasn't quite up to the standard of their old chassis, so they on-sold it to a gentleman here in Adelaide. He put a Repco Brabham V8 in it and did a lot of hill climbs over the next sort of 15 to 20 years. Then it disappeared from somewhere. Alan Hamilton got the chassis back. He found where the engine and the gearbox was, put it together. There was an incredible restoration done on the car during COVID, I'm pretty sure. And here it is today. So quite a special thing. Very special thing, and a very special event to be part of. What else are you looking forward to for this weekend? Well, I think obviously the array of different types of cars here and their history, you know, not only history of motorsport in Australia, but you know, the history of the event here at Adelaide with Formula One going back to 85, you know, Group C sports cars, things that a lot of people just have never seen, but on a global world scale are just incredible. So incredible to see how many people are out here already. And some special cars of yours here as well this weekend. I bet you're looking forward to that? Yeah, I am. I'm also driving my dad Jim's Nissan Skyline from 1990, the two-wheel drive version, and that's a special car to our family, being the car that basically won him the 1990 Touring Car Championship. So. Your family as well. Speaking of which, I mean, young bloke did very well in Porsches last year as well. That must be exciting to see the next generation. And of course, your daughter Priya as well is doing lots of things in motorsport media too. Yeah, absolutely. No, the kids are going great. Clay 86 is not Porsches, but the Toyota 86 series. That's been really good to him. He's done Formula Ford, and with a bit of luck, we'll move on to do something else this year as well. Maybe I'm thinking in the future of Porsches rather than 86s. Yeah, Steve, thank you very much, mate. We'll see you later on. That's Steve Richards, obviously supercar royalty, driving that kick-ass car around the circuit a little bit later on. And as we walk down here, I was talking about Porsches, and that's one of the Quins. In fact, I think that's Ryder Quinn's dad who's driving that one along. But I don't know where to look, to be perfectly honest. On this side, we've got supercar royalty. We've got all of these really cool Falcons and Commodores. Look at this Caltex Havoline AU Falcon. The way that looks at the minute is absolutely outstanding.
And when it comes to livery, for me personally, I think we absolutely peaked in the early 2000s. You don't quite get cars that look as cool as this anymore. We might keep going a little bit further along. Actually, before we do, what I'll do, and my cameraman is going to follow me this way, sorry about that, mate. We're going to have a look at this Aussie Mail AU Falcon. Now, this had a bit of an incident here at Adelaide. I think it ended up on its roof in one of the sessions, but it's now since been put back together again. And I tell you what, Aussie Mail, isn't that an absolute blast from the past? I was talking about liveries before. That is an iconic one. Sticks in my head as a motorsport fan and a fan of supercars from the early thousands. Next to it, obviously, we've got the Hungry Jack's livery. We've got a Coca-Cola livery on that beautiful Commodore as well. And that's Neil Crompton, who's obviously is a commentator and a legend of the supercars world. Drove that car as well. We're going to pop back onto this side into single-seaters here. And this is a Tatis FR V6. It's running a livery similar to what Fernando Alonso did when he won those 2 World Championships. One of which probably should have been Mark Webber if he chose to go to Renault rather than Williams, which is what he ended up doing, much to his manager Flavio Briatore's disdain. But that's okay. This is what motorsport does, and we have other Australian drivers like Daniel Ricciardo. That happens as well, doesn't it? So in terms of offerings here in this part of the paddock, open wheel, Lolas, we've got that Rhoden down the end with Josh. We've got really, really beautiful supercars. I tell you what, some also real cool drivers around as well. Let's head over to the next part of the paddock and see what we can find. Now, here's a very special looking car. I don't know if you can see the side here. 2 absolute powerhouse names of Australian motorsport. Dick Johnson, John Bowe, who is still racing today, which is mega. He is a massive, massive fan of motorsport in this country. He loves young drivers. He was driving in GT4 last year with Jacob Lawrence, who's a young bloke. And I tell you what, I've never seen a driver absolutely lift up a younger driver in the way that John Bowe does. He is an absolute superstar and very, very important to this sport. It's hard to know where to look. We've got some mid-key entries here. This is a really cool car. All right, let's focus on this one because I believe Valtteri Bottas, Formula 1 driver, will be driving this on Sunday. Just look at this. Look at it. Is it not one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen in your entire life? It certainly is for me. This beautiful livery, it's iconic, absolutely iconic. Denny Hulme and Andrew Medicki driving this absolutely stunning car. And I know that lots of fans of Motorsport Festival will know how much Valtteri Bottas loves being here, not only in Adelaide, but here at Motorsport Festival. I can tell you the inside scoop, I spoke to him yesterday, he's very much looking forward to driving this. He's also driving a brand new AMG GT as well, and I think he's probably more excited about this. And we're talking a little bit earlier about Skylines. This is an R32 and some other names on the side of that car that we will find very familiar. One times Mark Scaife, for example, who is still an absolute legend, a certified legend, of course, as well. But this Skyline absolutely dominated, didn't it? If you're a fan of supercars history and Australian touring cars, you'll remember just how powerful this car was. And this striking livery, as well as the Nissan livery next to it, that red, blue and white livery almost carried over through World Rally Championships with Datsun going into Nissan. We've got Skylines, we've got R31s, R32s, all the way up and down here. There is a absolute feast for the eyes and for the ears, and I'm sure in some of the background noise with this microphone you've heard just how epic this has sounded already. We've got old school BMWs, we've got old school Jags. I tell you what, this is a brilliant start already to Saturday here at the Repco Adelaide Motorsport Festival. All right, well, there's a bit of a crowd of people gathering around here, and I can tell you why. The great man, Craig Lowndes, is deep in here, who is going to be driving this Arrows A10B, and we're going to let him take some photos. If we have a look at this car behind him, isn't that an absolutely outstanding car? Craig, Good morning, mate. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Mate, this is looking awesome. Priority, Craig. Come on, let's come over here. We can talk about it. Let's all talk about it here. We'll let you have your photo first, mate, and then we'll come back to you. Craig took part yesterday in the street party downtown in Adelaide, and I tell you what, he was a very popular person with the fans there as well. He is still a regular feature, of course, in supercars, not only for the broadcast, but also in the endurance race. And you can see that with his super cheap auto suit as he runs the wildcard entry with Triple Eight. Triple Eight recently just saying that they're moving to Ford. Mate, this is such a cool event. I know you love Adelaide, you really do, but to do something a little bit different from a supercar or from a Fink off-road truck or anything else must be really cool for you too.
Oh, it is, and I think that when you get these iconic cars still running around, which is fantastic, but then to have a facility like this or the Adelaide Motorsport Festival to showcase them, and I think that that's what all the people out the front there are really admiring, just the cars still running around, people love it, and we get enjoyed to drive them.
You're a rev head at heart, obviously, we know that. What else have you sort of spied around that you're excited to see?
I'm more excited, to be honest, about the motorbikes. I love the motorbikes. I think it's a great inclusion to have the two-wheelers here. I know that there's a lot of people up there I know really well, and it's just nice to see a mix of the two, because even at a supercar round, when we've got super bikes, it's always a good combination. So to have the bikes part of this festival again is really exciting.
And we also have hypercars and supercars as well. I can just peek behind you in that curtain. I can see a Lexus LFA, which I've never seen in person before, which is pretty bloody cool as well. But from that point of view, obviously, supercar drivers and real race car drivers all around the world, yeah, they love on-track stuff, but they get real passionate about their off-track stuff as well, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, again, this facility and event has just got a great mix of everything. And as you mentioned, like the hypercars, which I'm driving one of them later on as well, you just get experience everything and anything growing up. Like I grew up watching these cars here at the Adelaide when it was in the 90s. So to have an experience of driving them and just to walk around and see what's around, in marquees and on display, all the old supercars. Richo's up there, Murph's up there, and we're dragging all the old guys out again.
I wouldn't call you an old guy. Not at all, mate. Not at all. Well, mate, we'll let you get back to it. We'll probably catch up with you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, there's Lowndes. He's having a great time already this weekend. As I said, he started with a street party yesterday, and I'm sure he's going to be having plenty more fan photos as we see them all lining up to say g'day to him. Here's a really cool car as well. I'm going to bring us over to the six-wheeled Tyrrell, which was in its day an absolute, well, it was a game changer, wasn't it, for Formula One? There's brilliant footage of this running around the place, especially around the 1976. Tony Quinn's going to be driving this car today, and Tony Quinn is such an important figure in Australian motorsport. His grandson, Ryder Quinn, I mentioned him a little bit earlier, he's been racing Porsches incredibly well, and also GT cars. GT4 last year, he did an absolutely outstanding performance in that category, and so it's great to see the multiple generations of the Quinn family absolutely achieving superb things. It's going to be great to see Tony in that car. We were talking a little bit earlier with Tim Possingham about this very specific car. This is the Lola Beatrice, which Alan Jones ran back in 1985. This was the first car to turn a wheel on the Grand Prix circuit here in Adelaide. And I'll tell you what, it's all got all the covers off and it's all looking very interesting. Mate, we might have a chat with you about it. What are you currently doing here to this beautiful car?
Fueling it up for next session.
Fueling it up. Now, it's obviously a little bit of a more complicated thing than a lot of other cars around here. What's the process that goes into refueling?
You get the fuel and you pump it into the hole.
Well, that's it. It's as simple as that.
Car, very simple car.
I like that a lot. What's your other sort of favourite bits to work on this car? Is there something that sort of stands out to you that is a little bit special?
No, just the whole car. It's an F1 car. No one's going to give me a drive an F1, so I end up buying my own.
Mate, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's an absolutely beautiful car. Thank you for your time. Of course, number 33, we've seen a bit of that action on Formula One cars since, although the number 33 has disappeared for a while and the number 1 has been around. We're going to keep walking along as we see. Well, David Brabham is going to drive this Brabham BT59 actually a little bit later on. David Brabham, son, of course, of Jack Brabham, who's a 3-time champion in Formula One, and David's son Sam is also driving some really cool cars around the world at the moment. Both of them, again, doing some GT racing here in the country last year. This is probably one of the most interesting families when it comes to Australian motorsport. Of course, David Brabham drove for Brabham, but it wasn't owned by Brabham back in his Formula One time, and it wasn't necessarily the most successful campaign, probably, but he is an incredible driver. Not only is he obviously royalty when it comes to motorsport in this country, he also is really, really good at lifting up young people and training them too. So I know the Brabhams as a family and as a business try to find really cool drivers and help them along in their journey. So we're going to see that car on track a little bit later on. And here it is, the Benetton B190. Thierry Boutsen is going to be driving this as well a bit later on, and Thierry won here in 1989. This is a 1990 Benetton, but he's a really lovely man. We might try and find him if we can at some point for a quick chat, but he's really excited to be here at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. And I tell you what, here he is. In fact, Thierry, can I say hello very quickly? I was just saying that you're very excited to be here. This is your car. Hello.
Hello.
How are you finding being being here in Adelaide for the Motorsport Festival?
It's very emotional for me because I won the race here in 1989, and I've been here most of the Grand Prix. I mean, until '92, I was here for the Grand Prix, and it's just something that comes back to me now in my memories. I mean, so many good times here, so many good moments here, and reviving all this. It's nice, very nice.
How does it feel hearing old school, proper Formula One sounds like in your era ringing around the streets of Adelaide again? That must feel good.
These were real Formula One cars, I would say. No, there's been big changes in motorsport in general, but to have all these cars here, I mean, cars are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and have them running again, I mean, it's fantastic, really fantastic.
Thierry, thank you.
I mean, 36 years ago I was here and won the race. I mean, to be here again 36 years later, driving one of the winning cars, it's fantastic.
Can I ask you, do you remember what it felt like to stand on the top step of the podium in 1989?
It was a hard fight because the race was very, very wet. I mean, the whole weekend was difficult, but no, it was a big challenge for me. I did not have the best car, but I had the best engine, and I took this as an opportunity to do my best, you know, in the wet conditions like that, and it worked very well. So being on the rostrum was for me the sky's the limit, but I was in the sky.
Mate, so great to see you. I'll let you get to it. Enjoy driving this beautiful car around today. That's Thierry, who is one of the stars of the Adelaide Motorsport Festival for 2025. Another star of the Motorsport Festival is this Jaguar. This is a 2001 Jaguar R2. And this was Pedro de la Rosa's car. The really beautiful Jaguar Racing Green, of course. The Beck's livery on the side and the HSBC. This is one of those cars that, well, let's be honest, it looked better than it went. And from the streets of Adelaide, this arrived here, I think a week ago or so, and it was welcomed by being driven around by some brilliant people around the streets of Adelaide. And one thing that I noticed is that the Adelaide police really love being able to bring these cars around the place. They obviously have the bicycles a little earlier with Tour Down Under, and they get really cool cars like Formula One cars and Paganis and Bugattis and all sorts of wonderful things to drive around as well. So that's really worth checking out. And there's also a crowd here, which I'm in everybody's way, checking out as well. And some other Brabhams a little bit further along here. And another person who will be, speaking of Brabham, there's David Brabham. Someone who I saw earlier on is Damon Hill. And funnily enough, here we have a Damon Hill car. This is a Brabham BT60B. And Damon's first Formula One car. Remarkable, really, if you think about 1992 to being champion in 1996, of course, from his own motorsport family history as well. From the point of view of fans all around the place, this is awesome. I'm going to sneak in with David Brabham. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Good.
Great to, yeah, I'm very good. Sorry to surprise you here. We're just having a look up and down. There are lots of cars that bear your last name here. I know you're driving this weekend. How are you feeling about being back at the Adelaide Motorsport?
Well, I just love coming back to Adelaide. I love coming back to the festival. Tim Possingham and all the guys in the team do a fantastic job. I mean, you just have to look at these amazing cars. They've come from all over the world for here, and this event just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I get a chance to come in and drive a couple of Formula One cars. One that I raced here in 1990, which is kind of it's like an old girlfriend that I've met. I get up again, so I look forward to driving her later. So yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Your motorsport royalty, the family name, but not only your dad and you, but also Sam, who's been doing some incredible stuff as well, and he did some GT racing here last year as well. How does it feel being back in Australia with the Brabham name and now a third generation really striving it forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Great to see Sam. He took a leap of faith, I guess, to come to Australia, and he's set up base here, and he's working. He's just about to buy a house, and he's been racing in GT, and really proud of what he's been able to do and achieve. And like Matthew, the 3 generations, continuing the family tradition and family name in motorsport, and it's got a rich history, over seven decades. It's just wonderful to have had the opportunity to even be involved in motorsport, let alone the whole family and the impact that the family success has had on the sport here in Australia and globally as well.
You're joining some of the other big stars this weekend on track for an F1 demonstration with Damon and a few others, Stefan, I think, as well, and Thierry. That's going to be pretty special.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, when I was here in 1990, we were all on the grid for that. I was down the back. I don't think Damon was there in 90. No, he was doing F3000, but certainly Thierry Boutsen was, and he's a Grand Prix winner here. So it was nice to see him yesterday, catch up with him for dinner with Stefan. So very much looking forward to being on track with those guys, yeah.
Mate, thank you very much. Great to see you. Have a wonderful time this weekend. Very much looking forward to seeing you. We'll probably catch up again tomorrow. Thank you very much. That's David Brabham, who has, well, as he just said, multiple generations of family absolutely crushing it with motorsport. We're going to go for a little bit of a further walk now down the pack. Just to my left here, there's some Can-Ams. That's the Shadow Can-Am that Craig Lowndes was talking about just before. He's going to be driving that a little bit later on. Look at that aero, the front wing of that thing. Isn't that just the most ridiculous thing now? If you compare this to modern cars and modern Formula One cars, the aero, the way that they were trying to get downforce and power is just absolutely magnificent. Now, one of these cars I was silly enough to stand behind at the Goodwood Festival of Speed as it started 2 years ago, and my ears are still recovering because they are loud. Super, super loud. But look at this brilliant cockpit. If you come around and have a look at just the simplicity of this thing and the gear handle, you've got fuel tanks, ignition buttons. The way that this is all set up is, well, it's just remarkable that any of them finished, really, if you think about it. Of course, there was not the happiest of times in Can-Am for the likes of Bruce McLaren, who unfortunately lost his life in a car not too dissimilar to that in terms of age as well. But of course McLaren goes on, and we'll find some McLarens a little bit later on. This part of the paddock is pretty exciting for me because right down the end, I'll try not to rush down there, but as I can spy a Mazda 767B. But all of these epic Le Mans cars from the sort of late 80s, early 90s period are just magnificent. Look at this Castrol livery here. This kind of livery is what sort of sparks the 55 Mustang of Thomas Randall, who drives at Tickford Racing. And obviously the Castrol livery has significant heritage here. There's beautiful lines, of course, and the way that this car looks. I mean, in terms of aerodynamics, and to do Le Mans, to do 24 hours, you can imagine how hot it got in that cockpit just to be able to survive. Mate, this is a pretty special looking car.
How you doing? Yes, it's one of only 21 in the world and one of only 3 in Australia.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
In terms of, we're just talking a little bit before about the development of cars. So this is Le Mans, this is sort of late.
Le Mans Group C era, 1980s, early 1990s. 4 of these were entered at Le Mans in 92. They were accepted, but they didn't turn up, which was not unusual in those days because you would enter Le Mans if you had a car. you'd be accepted. Then you'd go and try and raise the budget to run the car. and quite often, if you look at entry lists and finishing lists at Le Mans back in that era, you'll see a number of cars at the bottom did not turn up. And that was generally the reason.
Money's always a thing in motorsport, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah, it is a big factor, yeah. But these cars were built by Pro Sport Engineering in England, and it was designed to be a one-make series for lookalikes a la the Porsches, the 962s. And that one-make series ran for 2, 3, 4 years and then petered out towards the end of that period. But, you know, I can't afford a Porsche. This is as close as I can get. But this is in full endurance specs, this car. Air jacking, gearbox cooling, 99 litre fuel tank, dry brake refueling. So you could, in theory, run an endurance race with the car.
Wow. Well, it is incredibly special and just one of the many special cars here this weekend. Has anything else apart from the Porsche caught your eye this weekend at the Motorsport Festival?
Oh, pretty much everything. Now, normally I would have been at Phillip Island for the Classic, but that's on the same weekend. I've come here at the invitation, of course, of organisers in preference to Phillip Island because this is a special event and you don't get to be with cars like this every day of the week.
Well, it's a beautiful looking car, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanking you.
All right, let's have a bit of a wander around. As I said, a beautiful Castrol livery. I'm glad that continues to inspire other liveries even today in supercars. We're talking a little bit earlier about the Mazda 767B. Here it is, right down the very end here. And I'm going to annoy a few people, sadly, by getting in their photos, but this is one of the classic motorsport cars. And I tell you what, from this point of view, I know I've just... Sorry, gents, as I get in your way and annoy you, put some shadows on the car, but if you come right down low and just have a look at the clearance right in the front of this car, the way that these cars were running, its endurances, the stunning livery, it doesn't get better than this when it comes to this type of car, especially from a 24-hour Le Mans point of view. Having a look through here, in fact, if you have a look in the cockpit, you can see that we've come a little bit further along from some of the other cars in terms of what's actually there, switches-wise. It gets a little bit more complicated. We're starting to try and find some efficiencies. This is a 1989 entry into Le Mans. Well, that's it for the pit walk part of this. There is just too much to see and I've run out of time, but of course there's plenty more action to come, so stick with us. Welcome back to the 2025 Adelaide Motorsport Festival. It has been an excellent morning. As you just saw, I had a brilliant time. The other things that have been going on today have also been in the big Grand Marquee behind me, including the likes of Gunther Steiner, who will come up a little bit later on. But we're about to cross over to my friend and yours, Charlie Barlow, who is going to be interviewing David Brabham and Stefan Johansson. Of course, David and Stefan, both racers here back when the Grand Prix was at Adelaide in the early 90s. And certainly David's already been out today in his Brabham, reuniting, of course, with the family name in that brilliant Formula One car, including Damon Hill. Also jumped out in that same session too. There's plenty of action all across this brilliant motorsport festival. And I think what we should do is take you live now to the Grand Marquee so that we can get a bit of a better understanding of what's going on inside the minds of these F1 drivers.
Okie dokie, let's get underway, shall we? It was just because David wanted to make a grand entrance.
I was just late, sorry.
Shh. Drivers are never late. They're never late. They're never late.
I was actually having a steak and chips.
And I rudely interrupted.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the phone rang. Yeah, the Begana, yeah, nice steak. Do you want to have a steak? Or
yeah, delicious. All right, well, now you're fueled up. Let's get this underway, shall we? Everyone, thank you very, very much for joining us here in the Grand Marquee. This is one of our live stream sessions across the weekend. It is my absolute pleasure to have joining me on stage. Make them feel very, very welcome. It is David Brabham and Stefan Johansson! Okay, Adelaide. We have got two absolute stars, and I just don't think that round of applause was good enough. This is Adelaide. We are celebrating 40th anniversary of this iconic race beginning in 1985. Please put your hands together for David Brabham and Stefan Johansson! Oh, that feels good, doesn't it? That's way better, way better.
It is hot.
It is. I know, but we're warmed up now, so we're all pumping, ready to go. Gentlemen, this is an absolute honour. This kind of conversation is something that is extra special because we're celebrating 40 years since the first Adelaide Grand Prix here. Stefan, you were there. You were racing. Yesterday, I did remind you that it was 40 years, and you looked at me like this. Take us back to that time, please, sir. It's so iconic.
Yeah, it was. No one expected or knew what to expect when we came here, because it was the first race, of course, in Australia and Adelaide, but it was a more than pleasant surprise for everybody. Immediately, the energy in the town was just incredible, and everybody embraced the race in the most positive, happy way, and the race itself was fantastic. The racetrack is really good. Was good, and demanding, difficult, but a really good race, yeah.
And please, talk us through some of those challenges. It's mentally tough, it's a tough circuit in itself, it's physical. Talk us through that year and that race.
Yeah, I mean, every street circuit, by definition, is always a bit more difficult, demanding. There's no room for error. And, so you got to be really precise and make no mistakes, basically, so that, for me, makes it much more interesting, of course, but yeah, I mean, it had a good variety, long straights and medium, high speed, low speed, and grip level was not the greatest, so it was a difficult race, yeah.
And then you come back in 86 and put it on the podium, so you must be doing something right around here.
Just luck.
No, it
Pure
wasn't. Absolutely not. Talk us through 86.
86, well, it was, 86 wasn't as good year for Ferrari in general as 85 was. The car wasn't that great, really, but, it was, I mean, from the beginning of practice, just try to focus on the race setup and get as good a race setup as possible, because qualifying wasn't that important then. And I, remember just doing a couple of slow runs on one set of tires that would then last the whole race, just to give it a little heat cycle every session, just to make them cure a little bit. Maybe 0.2 a lap slower overall, but they did last the whole distance, and that's really what got us to third place in the end. It wasn't speed.
It wasn't speed. It was all you, sir.
What's that?
It's all you.
No, it's not me. Me and the engineers, more the engineers.
And David, of course, this is a special place for you in several different ways. We'll talk about the Formula 2 race a little bit later. But of course, let's talk about, Adelaide, this circuit, what it means to you, and also what this event does as well.
Well, actually, just listening to Stefan talk about 85, I was here in 85 as a spectator.
Oh, wow.
And I was lucky enough to get on the top above the pits and watch the cars go past. And every gear you were hitting, the rear end would just literally snap like this because there was zero grip on the racetrack. So I don't know how much horsepower you had, but what was it, 700, 800, 900 horsepower, 1,000?
Way more. I mean, in qualifying, we had over 1,200.
Yeah.
Wow. In race trim, probably 900 most of the time, yeah.
I mean, watching the go, especially you, I still remember Stefan going up the straight, just snaking like this. And of course, it was very impressionable for someone like me, just went, oh my God. And it's kind of weird for me, looking at that and thinking only a few years later, I'm also on the track racing myself, either Formula Ford, Formula 2, and then Formula 1. So yeah, this place holds so many great memories for me, and I don't know if anyone was here at that time, but when I first heard the guys on track, my mate and I were walking through the streets towards it, and then we could hear the noise, and the hairs just went like this, because it just did that to you, you know. So yeah, as I said, lots of great memories.
And it's really nice. I know I've been having conversations with people all day today, and that is what so many people remember as kids, being up against that fence and just falling in love with motorsport in a whole different way. And it's still now when we get to walk around and actually see these cars 40 years later. Stefan, it's just wonderful to be able to immerse yourself in it in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's, it's passion at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, whether you're here as a competitor or a spectator, I mean, it's one big family in the end, and it's really what drives is the passion for motorsports and cars, I guess.
And then 35 years on from 1990, you're back driving the Brabham BT 59 this weekend, and obviously you're in your race suit, so you've clearly had a bit of a spin this weekend.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to get back in the very car that I raced here in 1990. It's been a long time, backed with an old girlfriend, I guess, but it's such a pretty little car. Well, it wasn't particularly fast or reliable, and at the time Brabham were going through a lot of financial difficulties, as everybody was, because it was the world financial crisis going on in 89, 90, so it really affected the Japanese owner that owned the team. I think he went from a billionaire to a millionaire overnight. But getting back in the car just brought so many memories, particularly as there's still some corners here that we're still using. I get to drive that, and I'm also driving Damon Hill's car, the BT60B, which obviously was, again, a bit of a tough year for him, but both those cars were our introduction to Formula 1. So that's what gave us our opportunity. So you've got to look back in fond memories with that as well.
And of course, driving a car that bears your family name, your legacy, I don't think many of us can really comprehend what that would mean to you as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Brabham goes back all the way. My dad, sort of 7 decades of racing, in Formula 1. He was so successful in Formula 1, and it's great to see the BT19, the Repco Brabham that Repco have brought over.
Stunning.
So for me, my very first race in a Formula 1 was Monaco, and I'm sitting on the grid, with the Brabham hissing Sid, which is this one here on the steering wheel, looking down in front. I think you were probably up the front a little bit, like Prost and Senna, Mansell, Piquet, all those guys that I came here in '85 to watch. And there I am sitting on the grid in a Brabham. And obviously my dad won Monaco in 1959 as his first Grand Prix. So that brought a lot of emotions, but at the same time you're in a race, so you can't really focus too much on it, but you do recognise it. And when I look back, I think, yeah, that was pretty cool.
I know. I love that about race car drivers. They do these amazing things and they go, oh yeah, that was pretty good. That was a good day. You're like me, I'd be like, what? This is incredible. Can we also talk about your race suit? Because you just said this is also an ode to your father's race suit as well.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get a race suit for historic type stuff, because I do race at Goodwood quite a lot. And I just thought a replica of my dad's race suit in the late 60s, 1970, would be a good shout. So HRX actually did the suit for me, and yeah, it's a paid homage to my dad, really.
Can I put you on the spot for a fashion show? Would you mind just pulling it on and showing us? Can I put you on the spot? I'll hold all your stuff. Don't worry, it's only being live streamed. Everyone's watching. Just for 2 seconds, you can take it straight back off. I know, but you can take it straight back off, I promise. We just want to see it in all its glory, which we will on track across the weekend. Wow, that is cool. Turn around and show everyone. Now I've fully embarrassed you, sir. What? Yes, hands together. David Brabham, that looks very, very slick, sir. Very, very nice. How many race suits do you think you own now?
Got quite a few boxes with suits. Do you keep all your suits as well?
Do you count them, Stefan?
No, I mean, my stuff is all over the place. But I have quite a lot still at home, but I mean, I gave away so many helmets and suits and trophies and God knows. But thankfully, my dad saved everything he could get his hands on. But sometimes you like get on the podium in F1 and then like, fuck, I can't be bothered to check in the bag. So I gave it to a mechanic or something.
But when you do see suits like this that are paying homage to Sir Jack and all the wonderful memorabilia that we're really surrounded with this weekend as well, surely it brings back a flood of memories for you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, now when you get on a bit, and you have a distance to what you were doing, you get a chance to reflect on everything, But when you were in the middle of it, when you're running, you don't think about that. So all you want to do is win. Yes. And that's the only thing that occupies your mind at that time. But I mean, now, looking back, 40 years in the past, with like all the memories with Enzo Ferrari, and we used to have lunch every day when we were testing at Fiorano. I mean, that's like incredibly special moments that you didn't even think about at the time. Yeah.
Talk us through one of those lunches. Take us through one of those lunches. What are all the cool things that happened there?
They were just like guys having lunch, just 5, 6 mates, and so was obviously the ringleader, but I mean, we talked about everything under the sun, really, but his favorite subject was the engine, of course, he didn't really care much about the chassis, there was just something that was necessary to bolt the engine into, but so it was a lot of, new development on the engine, a little bit about the chassis, and then it was just, whatever, really, wanted to know what girl you were dating, and the usual stuff that guys talk about.
Absolutely. And of course, Le Mans winner, you've raced IndyCar, you've raced so many iconic circuits around the globe, as have you, David. Really, Adelaide, how did it stack up? I think, as you mentioned before, it was somewhere that all the drivers look forward to. But for you, how does it rate?
Yeah, no, for that reason, exactly. I mean, it was, I think maybe partly because it was also the last race of the year. So it was like we got here and then it was like you got blow some steam off, having been sort of under massive pressure to perform all year. You finally can let go a little bit, so that was maybe part of it. But it was just the whole atmosphere here was so great, And the race was always good, always difficult, which made it more interesting, of course.
Yeah, of course. And David, you were one of 2 Aussies that raced in the Adelaide Grand Prix. Of course, Alan Jones being the other, who isn't here with us today. The local support, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, again, great memories. I remember just sort of walking into a shop, and buying something, and as I'm walking out, they go, "Hey, good luck this weekend," And I have a great memory of actually being in the pits and looking at the grandstand, and there was someone holding a massive banner, and it said, "Football, meat pies, kangaroos, and David Brabham." And I looked at that, I thought, I got to meet those people. So we ended up hooking up, having a good old chat.
Oh,
yeah. It was great.
That is very cool.
That was one of the memories. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I had tremendous support as an Aussie racing in the Grand Prix, and something I'll always remember. And yeah, great, really good.
Can we please talk about the Formula 2 race here? The one that was really career-defining for you, opened the door even wider for you in Formula 1. You raced from 38th to 1st in one race. There you had a mechanical issue that saw you starting at the back of the grid, but there was a certain motivation, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, that saw you overtake 37 cars to take the lead, David Brabham. It's quite the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, when I look back, it's a race that taught me a lot about myself more than anything. But yeah, the kind of run the story, I was racing in different places around the world, really. No one championship, bit of F2 here, Formula Atlantic in New Zealand, Formula Atlantic in America and South America. We dusted the Formula 2 car for what was the winner would get the Australian Gold Star. So it was worth doing. Here at Adelaide, I'd done Formula 4 the year before and finished second. And as you say, qualifying didn't go too well, but that was not the story really. The main story was I had a massive bust up with my father just before the race, because 3 months before that, because we hadn't been talking for 3 months, was I had to tell him my girlfriend was pregnant. And for him, that was like a no. You don't have family as a racing driver. So he could see I was doing quite well, and he thought, right, he's going to go to Europe. He's the one going to get to Formula One, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I got a baby on tow. So we didn't speak for 3 months, and then I was trying to bridge the gap after qualifying, and he had his sort of that stern look on his face. My mum was there, and he had a Formula One pass. And I said, oh, you better get me one of those for when I'm in Formula One. And I didn't know what to say to him because we weren't talking. So it just came out. And he just looked at me and said, the days of you ever going to Formula One are finished. And that was it. Talk about hit the rev limiter. I fired right back at him. And I said, I'm not accepting that. And I told him to F off. And I stormed off. I put my John Farnham tape on, listened to John Farnham, and I was like on the limiter when I got in the car. And I grabbed the mechanic and I said, you go down there and tell those guys in front of me I'm coming through, they better get out of the way, which I would never have done. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just don't. I was in a completely different mindset because the determination and the anger and everything was so heightened. Even when I was sitting in the car, and all I had sight was, I'm winning this race, get out of my way, you know. So I went from 38th to 17th on lap 1. Lap 2, I'm in the top 10, and I got in the lead with a lap to go and won the race. Yeah. And it was one of those times in your life where you look back and go, well, I finished the race, and I went, how the hell did I do that? And it just took me mentally to a whole new place I didn't know existed. So really it was a gift. It was a fantastic gift my dad gave me, because I learned a lot about the mentality to racing and performing at a kind of high level, and the kind of mood in particular you have to be in when you put the helmet on. And I carried that all the way through my career. So great story. And funny enough, he started talking to me after that.
But you said also that he's obviously watching on. He's at the fence watching you do this. And
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
No, he was, and my mate was with him, and he went off, and my mate's gone, well, where's Jack gone? And then he's come back with Jackie Stewart and Ken Tyrrell up on the pit wall going, hey, come and have a look at this. And because, you know, their timing, all the cameras were off. That wasn't put on TV or anything, but they could see the gap going down 2 seconds a lap. Wow. And then, of course, I won. And, you know, it was great. I had a lot of great support from Ken afterwards as well, and Jackie. And then my dad obviously came on board again, and off I went to England, not knowing how long that would last. And I had a long career over there. So, yeah, this was the real catalyst to push me ahead and get to Formula One 2 years later.
It's wonderful that you did it in your hometown as well. Stefan, have you ever heard that story before?
If I heard this story?
Yeah.
I haven't. No.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Can you relate to the level that you need to get to mentally? Maybe it's not an argument with someone, maybe it's something else. Where do you have to get to? Do you also listen to John Farnham?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody have their own sort of trigger point, you know, when you realize that, you know, that aha moment when you kind of raise your game to a whole different level. And then, but it's like that, I think, in life in general, in a way, isn't it? You know, you punch through these thresholds, you know, and then all of a sudden you have an ocean of new opportunity or possibility, then you hit the wall again, and you got to punch through the next wall, you know. And certainly that's how my career was, you know. I felt like, you know, you sort of get to a certain point and then you're struggling a bit, and then something happens, you know. I don't have any specific memory of such, but I mean, it was like that all the way for me as well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think what you alluded to before as well, David, was being able to pass that many cars, zero fear. That's the mindset that you were in. Because if you had 1 second of fear, do you think it would have you'd be able to do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I never thought about failure. I never thought about anything else other than I was winning that race, regardless of where I started, which was actually behind the hairpin. because I couldn't even see the start-finish line because there were so many cars on the grid, 38 cars, 39 cars. So I know if I did start to think about, oh, what if would have happened? So, like I said, lots of great lessons for me to just eliminate any negativity in your mind when you're going into a race meeting. And if you do, then you've got to get on top of it and move on, because that really affects the way you interpret your world and the way you make decisions. Like, going down the inside of someone, if you're fully committed, you're not really thinking of fear or anything, you're just, I'm getting past, you're going to make a cleaner move than if it's half-hearted and you're half attempted. Then it's going to be in trouble. So, yeah, like I said, the mindset lessons that I learned was critical, really. Yeah.
And Stefan, you're obviously driving in some demonstration laps this weekend. Beg your pardon, you have to remind me what car that you're in. Are you in several this weekend? And which one is running, which one isn't running? Talk us through it.
Well, I was supposed to drive the Formula 5000 car today, but it's not running apparently. So tomorrow I will be in the Mazda Le Mans car.
Yeah, the 767B.
In one session at least, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So they get reacquainted to that one.
Yes, and talk us through that, because it's an absolute monster. Just to listen to the sound of that is incredible. I had the honour of interviewing the owner last year, and I purposely made him recreate the sound because it's so iconic. Talk us through your memories of that one.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't driven the car since I've crossed the finish line in Le Mans in 1991, whatever it was, But amazing engine. I mean, the car period was very good. Very nice, well-balanced, easy car to drive, but the engine was extraordinary. And then, so it's 11,000 RPM, but it's really 33,000 because there's three ignitions per rotation. Wow. So that's why you get that super high-pitched sound, Inside it's not too bad, because it just sounds like, but from the back, from the exhaust, it's like insanely loud, and high pitch. But it was an amazing.
Wiegler had an issue, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. One of the other drivers in the other car, who won the race, he was never the same again. He had to retire from racing actually because he had something happen to his ears. The whole equilibrium thing.
I think he ended up. An earplug, like earplugs fell out or something. It was something to do with these earplugs.
I've had that happen, but thankfully not in that car, because my hearing is shot to bits now.
Well, all exactly. But he was a good driver. He had to stop because, from what I heard, if someone dropped something on a table or something, he just couldn't cope with the noise, and it destroyed his life.
Wow. Gosh. Well, yes. Make sure earplugs absolutely in.
Good point, actually. I didn't even think of that. I better put some massive, great big cotton wads in.
Yeah. And then maybe afterwards just keep them in, because then you can just walk around blissfully. Anyone calls you, sorry, can't hear you.
Complete ignorance, exactly, yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for your time. We are just thrilled to have you here, both for another year. You guys are such massive advocates for this event, and it's truly an honour with you. So everyone, please put your hands together one more time. David Brabham and Stefan Johansson. Now, gents, you will be heading over to do the signing session. David, I just have to explain, you've got the signing cards, sir, but because we had to ask Stefan to step in last minute, he's going to be signing hats. We don't have his card. We don't have cards for him.
Sign Alan Jones and stuff, couldn't he?
Oh, we could just make you sign Alan's, yes. Sign David's, yes. So, gents, I will walk you over there after I drop everything that I own. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for waiting in the line for the signing session. I will just say again, it is capped at 50 people. We do sincerely appreciate that you respect that rule for us. We have counted that many people, and you can see where the end of the line is. But yes, we'll head over to the signing session now. Thank you very much.
Well, a massive thank you to Charlie Barlow, who has been doing a fantastic job at the Grand Marquee all day today, and she will, of course, continue to do that tomorrow. Well, that's it for us here at the Repco Adelaide Motorsport Festival for Saturday in 2025. If you want to get yourself down here tomorrow, tickets are still available. And as you have seen already so far in this live stream, there is so much to do and see. This has been a fantastic event today. Plenty more action coming tomorrow, as I said, and the likes of Valtteri Bottas will be returning. But until then, see you next time.
We have F1 royalty in the house.
The atmosphere here has been really, really cool this weekend, so it's been nice to be a part of.